In 1938, a radical machine emerged that looked more like a silver spaceship than a heavy-duty truck. This one-of-a-kind experiment provided a level of luxury and engineering that wouldn't be seen again for another 50 years. It remains a mysterious landmark in automotive history that proved the future was imagined long before it ever became a reality. The secret to this machine started with the wings of an airplane rather than the wheels of a car. Instead of standard coach building, engineers used aircraft construction principles to create a streamlined aluminum fuselage for the road. This wasn't a simple camper, it was an aerodynamic masterpiece designed to slice through the air with the same efficiency as a high-speed passenger train. By emphasizing weight optimization and structural strength, they managed to build a massive mobile residence that could glide over the highway without the heavy, boxy drag of a traditional vehicle. To pull this massive aluminum shell, designers threw out the conventional rulebook and placed the entire drivetrain in the back. By mounting a massive engine behind the driver, they achieved a level of towing stability and front axle relief that was unheard of in 1938. This backwards configuration allowed the truck to maintain a shorter, more manageable profile while maximizing every inch of usable interior space. It was a bespoke engineering solution tailored to the extraordinary demands of the Curtiss Aerocar, ensuring that the mass was exactly where it needed to be for traction. Step inside the aluminum shell, and the industrial world of 1938 completely vanishes. This wasn't a vehicle interior, it was a high-end Art Deco mansion inspired by the luxury yachts of the Mediterranean. The living quarters featured hand-polished mahogany woodwork, chrome accents, and expansive observation windows that allowed passengers to watch the American landscape pass by in total seclusion. It housed a full galley, private sleeping quarters, and a lounge area that rivaled the finest hotels in New York or Chicago. This level of craftsmanship turned the Vagabond into a self-contained fortress of comfort, designed for a class of traveler who refused to compromise even in the middle of a desert. The original heart of this beast was a rare white truck V12 gasoline engine, specifically chosen for its uncanny smoothness. In an era where most heavy engines rattled themselves apart, this 12-cylinder powerhouse ran with the precision of a luxury watch for a staggering 250,000 miles. This extraordinary durability transformed the vehicle from a mere curiosity into a high-performance investment that redefined the limits of gasoline power. The V12 configuration wasn't just about raw output, it was about reducing mechanical stress to a level that allowed for continuous, vibration-free travel over thousands of miles. Beyond the engine and the leather, the Vagabond's greatest engineering secret was hidden at the connection point between the truck and the trailer. Most heavy vehicles of the era used primitive hitching systems that made them prone to jackknifing or losing control at high speeds. The Vagabond utilized a specialized, aviation-inspired gooseneck coupling that distributed the weight directly over the rear drive wheels. This created a symbiotic relationship between the tractor and the trailer, allowing the two units to move as a single, fluid organism. It was this hidden pivot point that allowed a machine of such massive proportions to maintain stability at cruising speeds that would have sent a standard truck off the road. By 1953, the Vagabond underwent a radical mechanical heart transplant that would effectively double its lifespan. The owners gutted the original gasoline V12 and replaced it with a 300-horsepower Cummins diesel engine, a high-stakes move that reflected a massive shift in the trucking industry. This new powerhouse provided the superior torque and efficiency needed for sustained long-distance travel, transforming the vintage luxury vehicle into a modernized endurance monster. It was this upgrade that allowed the machine to stay in active service until 1991, an almost unbelievable 50-year working history for a custom-built vehicle. For nearly half a century, this silver behemoth wasn't found at luxury campsites. It was owned by one of the world's most famous cemeteries. Forest Lawn Memorial Park used the Vagabond for ceremonial transport, where silence and dignity were non-negotiable. It became an iconic Los Angeles sight, a luxury land yacht moving through the quiet grounds of an institution where permanence is the only goal. This wasn't a recreational camper, but a rolling symbol of status and reliability that remained in active service long after its contemporaries had been scrapped. But even the most legendary machines eventually have to find a permanent home of their own. In 1998, the Vagabond finally retired from its long career, moving from the quiet roads of a memorial park to the prestigious halls of the Peterson Automotive Museum. It was no longer a working tool, but a silent artifact of an era when American engineering had no limits. For nearly 2 decades, it was preserved as a landmark example of pre-war innovation, a physical record of a dream that was decades ahead of its time. When the museum eventually put it on the auction block in 2017, it sparked a feeding frenzy among the world's most elite collectors. Despite the fact that the massive Cummins engine hadn't roared to life in years, the bidding soared into the hundreds of thousands, eventually settling at over $500,000. Investors weren't buying a functioning vehicle. They were gambling on the soul of an era that will never be replicated. The interior remained largely untouched, a dusty, silent museum of 1930s opulence that proved some machines are more valuable as non-running artifacts than as working tools. It was a high-stakes bet on a piece of history that continues to appreciate, even as it sits perfectly still. The 1938 Vagabond remains a lone survivor of a world where built to last meant a 50-year working life. It wasn't mass-produced or replicated, but its existence proved that the concept of a luxury mobile home was already being explored at the highest level of engineering long before it became mainstream. It's a haunting reminder that the best ideas don't always win the market. Sometimes they just exist as a warning for what we've lost. Perhaps the most surprising detail isn't that this machine worked so well, but that we ever stopped building things with this level of uncompromising soul.